and your cameras are enabled as well. It is to protect you, just in case you didn't know. Um, I'm going to share my screen again just to show that part quickly. This is now without audio. While I'm busy doing this, let me just explain to you that we, okay, we just did the entire screen. The video was supposed to be really awesome, but yeah, it was buffering, and I don't know. I think it was because of the internet, because we did it straight from YouTube, and yet it was still buffering. I'm sharing the entire screen. If Yaku's here, I'm very, very sorry for that. And let me just get to that video quickly. Sorry. There we go. I just want to show you. So here is your chat option where you can type in the chat box. Amy would be putting the link of the register in the chat box with the ID key. So you must complete that register so that you are able to receive the recording of the session after this. Okay? Without you completing that register, we wouldn't know that you were here. There was no proof that you were here, and you won't be able to get the recording. Just remember, no paper, it's vapor. Right. Then this is to raise your hand if you want to ask something. And if you want to actually speak it, we will enable your mic and you are able to speak. Right? And this is for you, the action button. Please use it. It's very daunting for our presenter when he or she is busy presenting and they would like to have some interactions with you. And so when they make a joke, do the laughing emoji so there's not crickets in the background and it feels like he never made a joke. And if you love what he says, do a little heart or do a thumbs up, clap hands if you want to. So you have this little action over here. And then, of course, you have your camera that is enabled at the moment and your mic enabled at the moment. Yeah, and so we will enable this once you put up your hand and you want to ask a question, or you may ask a question within the chat group. And that is the rules and standards. If I have forgotten anything, let me just escape this. There we go. Just let me know. I am now going to hand over to Amy, who's going to introduce and Amy, you must put on your camera, eh, so people can see how you look. Introduce Uthman, our presenter. There we go, Amy.
Can you hear me, Rivko?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Beautiful.
And I
Okay,
can
good.
see you.
You
Beautiful.
can see me too. I would love to be able to see everybody. That would be a session that I would like to attend one day. But good afternoon and welcome, colleagues. So glad that we could have 31 minus 3, 20, 28 of you in the session today that is ready to learn, ready, willing um, to upskill yourself in, even though it's something that we're not really using very hectic tools, but it's something that's very interesting. This is something that I have been wanting to use in my class, but I've just been lacking the time. But now Uthman is going to show us what and how to do it. So I'm here to introduce Uthman, and his name is Uthman Barnes. He is a grade 5 educator at Douglas Road Primary in Wynberg, and he is also a transformation agent. He is, I think, he's also the head of he's also the DH, head of the department, or the acting DH, and he is a transformation agent and head of ICT at the school. I'm sure there's much more things that he is. I know he's a father and a husband, but um, for today, we leave ourselves in his capable hands, and he is very much capable. He's also very, very enthusiastic. So I'm here to assist him, and I'll be checking the chat and answering your questions if there are any questions, or I would also relay the questions to him if there are any questions. So without further ado, I think that's enough of me. Uthman, you're up,
Hi,
brother.
hi, Amy. Can you hear me? Does it sound
I
good?
can hear
Everything
you.
well?
Perfect.
Your
Okay,
sound is good.
excellent.
Uh,
Usually, when you speak and you're on the video, you put that wonderful backgrounds on, just to make everything look so nice. I couldn't find anything for my voice, to make it sound extra interesting. So I'll just have to stick with what I have.
your voice
But
is
then
perfect, man.
That's quite
But
fine.
nonetheless,
Quite
I always
fine.
blame it on the mic. But nonetheless, I want to say good afternoon, assalamu alaikum to everybody, and it's nice to work
Walaikum
with you again.
salam.
It's absolutely wonderful to work with you again, Amy, and the rest of the team here. Thank you, Shukran, so much for joining us today. We have an exciting session, and we're going to be talking about Webquest. So, welcome back after a public teachers holiday thingy. So we hope that was refreshing. So this is our first session, starting now till the conclusion of the term, and so let's jump right into it. Okay, I'm going to be sharing my screen, my tab. Okay, there we go.
While you're doing that, let me just explain to our colleagues over here. The reason why Uthman has not put on his video is because his camera wasn't working. So we forgive him for that. Um, I feel
Not
like we're missing out on not
not
seeing him. But yeah, next time you will be able to see him. But I'm sure you saw the photo on the video, on the very attempt, the weak attempt of a video. But yes, I just wanted to explain that. Thank you so much, Uthman.
No problem, no problem. So you guys can see my presentation. Just want to
Yes,
confirm
we
that.
can. Thank you so much. We can
Excellent.
see it.
That's all you can see. No, you can't see my bank account details, nothing like that. No, I just want to confirm.
No, but does it even matter? Do we have money?
Yeah, no, no, yeah, that's what I'm worried. You see, because if you see that, then anyway, yes. Okay, guys. So welcome to Webquest with Wakelet, and so Wakelet is an online app that we're going to be using, an online platform that we're going to be using, and of course, the process of moving about and going about this is obviously to have a look at the concept of what we call a quest or a web quest, and it's the same as exactly the same as if you have a treasure hunt or well, basically, it's how you make it interesting for your learners. So it could be a treasure hunt, it could be something exciting because at the end of the day, they know they're going to find, this goal and this treasure. Your idea here and your objective here is to ensure that that treasure that they find is the concept and the objective of the lesson that you want to teach, and the skills that you actually want them to learn and know. Okay, so the web quest is going to facilitate that process, and Wakelet is going to be that online platform on which we're going to be doing that. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so the first question is, what is a quest? And it basically starts off with with our map that we have. So you start with a clue. Now there's a very important section. This when we say start with a clue, when you start your lesson. So usually we have a process. We have the introduction to the lesson. When you work on your lesson plans, you have the middle of the lesson and so on. So when we say start with a clue, you need to get the kids, you need to get the learners, you need to get your staff. This application is absolutely wonderful. You can use it for staff members as well, whatever other portfolio you have at school, to facilitate that. For example, if you're the DH, maybe you want to make these cards up, maybe you want to make a wakelet for minutes of a meeting, or for work that you guys want to share your subject head, and you want the work to go right through and all the teachers have access to it. There's numerous applications. It's just subjected to your imagination. But nonetheless, so you start with your clue. So the question is, how am I guiding my learners? What do I want them to do? And be specific to the way that you ask the questions, because that's the crucial part, and how you're going to guide them into the lesson and into the activity. You have to solve it quickly. So here, time plays an important role. Time plays an important role because you need to ensure that for each task that you are going to have within your web quest has needs an allocated time. So you need to ensure that you've calculated that time. You need to ensure that activities you put in place and using the and take notice and consider the time it will take the learners to complete that task. Okay, whatever it may be, to watch a video or to do some activity, to write, to read up something, or whatever the case may be. Also, you also need to keep in mind what type of devices do we have. Okay, am I letting them use this at home? Are they doing it at school? Do we have tabs? Are we using the PCs? How's the internet? Whatever the case may be. So ensure that your time is set. You've planned your time. You know how you're going to work with it. You know your kids are going to have enough time to complete the task that you need them to do. And then we have find the key. So this is very important for me because when we find the keys are the objective of things that we want to do. And we started with a clue, we gave them a prompt, what we want them to do. We've allocated time. We're aware of the time, how we're going to manage our time, how much time it's going to take for the kids to work on whatever the case may be. And now the next thing is the key. So what are we going to put in the lesson? What are we going to use on the Wakelet? Are we going to be adding a PDF that they can access online? Are we going to be using YouTube videos? Is the YouTube video that I'm going to let them watch, is it something that I've edited, something I've made my own, something I've uploaded? Um, is it a document? Do I want them to collaborate? So it's very important that as you go along and as they go along on this journey, they need to be able to find interesting aspects of the lesson. Okay, so these are the things that you need to take cognizance of. And so the key factor is very important because that actually that makes it a hype and it makes the kids absolutely enjoy it. Next, we have, so let's just take a closer look at the keys. So basically, what am I using? YouTube. Is it appropriate? The content. What account are you using it from? Is it going to pop up some of your history when you put in the link? Some of the PDFs. Is it accessible for sharing? Am I allowing my kids to download it once you share that document? And so we'll just have a look at that. So you take a closer look at your keys, what you're using. Is it child friendly? Is it user friendly? Is it safe? Can parents engage with it? And so on. Okay, and then finally, you get to the treasure. So this becomes something interesting for the learners. Is if you're going to conduct this within the class, then the outcome or the objective of what you're going to reach within the class should be something exciting, at the end, so that everybody can enjoy it and so on. If you're setting it up as a task, you'd want the end result to be something that they've actually learned. So on this journey, they use the keys. On this journey, time was allocated correctly, and so we have a successful lesson. And at the end of the day, you have the teamwork between learners, yourself, and using the online platform. Okay, so let's have a look at digitizing a quest. First of all, I mentioned instructions on the Webquest. Very, very crucial. Like I said, when you give the clue, make sure that it's clear. I would like you to find out, research, view, study the diagram, watch the video, make sure you have headsets, read the following carefully, highlight, download. All these instructions should be clear to what the kids want. That's why we have most of the time in class, we have the kids asking, sir, ma'am, do I need to do this? Can you please explain this to me again? And so on. So there's nothing wrong with clarifying the instructions. We can clarify the instructions, but we need to ensure that the instructions are commands that they'll understand. Okay. And particularly if they are not familiar with using tech. They are, it's an interesting thing. Amy, can you hear me? You there? I'm speaking myself, or Amy?
I'm here. I'm
Okay,
very
okay, okay, okay,
engrossed in
fine.
what you were saying.
Okay, okay. Now I just need to make sure. Sometimes you're talking to yourself. Yes, sometimes.
Oh, I know. I know,
Okay.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. Now I just want to make sure. But nonetheless, anyway. So instructions on the web quest. So you need to ensure that they understand what you want them, what you want them to do. So also take note. Also remember that some of these kids, they're used to working with the phone. All of us are used to using the phone and whatever applications we need to do, whether it's TikTok or whether it's Instagram, and so on. And the moment you put something out there that they're not familiar with, for some reason, it becomes more challenging, even though certain of the concepts are still the same. The next thing, once again, our time frame, time factor, time frame is the activity that I'm doing, the task that I've assigned my learners, whatever it may be, any of the keys and so on. Are they familiar with it? Will they be able to do it? How's their comprehension skills? If you're giving them a text to read from a PDF, are the words appropriate for these learners? Do they understand the definitions, or are you going to use a word where the learner has to go use a dictionary, whatever the case may be? So time frame is very important. Otherwise, it will hinder what you actually would like to achieve. Then we have our keys, the key content, the concepts. So what's my content I'm providing them? And within that content, what's the concepts I want to teach? The key content, what am I providing them? What am I guiding them to? And what's the concepts I want them to learn from it? So these two go hand in hand, where you choose your content in accordance with the actual concepts that you want them to learn, whether it's for example, in English, whether you're doing a comprehension, you give them example of a comprehension, so you gave them the content, but you want them to learn the skills of identifying verbs, for example. So the text should be adequate for your grade. It should be highlighted. It should be something interesting. It should be colorful. Those words should be highlighted or bold or anything. But you need to ensure that the concepts of what you want to teach is facilitated within the content that you're providing. And then they analyze and evaluate the content. This is for both you and the learner. I just want to add this. I always mention this in my sessions, that you need to remember, whenever we have a session, it's always going to be built and designed on what you've actually manifested, what you've created. So any platform that comes about, how your class is unique, your resources and the situation of your resources, what your kids are able to do, etc. So when you put something together, for a teacher in e-learning, it's always that creative nature that comes out, because you need to make it exciting. These are all platforms that's online, but the actual lesson and content you want them to learn doesn't exist. And if it does, sometimes you have Wakelets or anything else that other teachers have already prepared, and you can purchase it and so on. However, it's not tailored. You're still going to have to tailor it to make it your own. And once you do it and you make it your own, you're really going to appreciate it. So when the learners analyze and evaluate the content, the same like yourself, I would ask my kids when we done our one, I asked my kids, I asked the learners, how was it? What did you enjoy? What didn't you enjoy? What did you find challenging? How could it have been improved? I think it's very important as educators to remember that when getting feedback and when getting evaluation from your kids, it's an opportunity for you to assess what are you doing, how can you improve yourself to make them understand better what you're trying to teach, and also it gives you an opportunity to reflect on what you can do. For the learner, it gives them also an opportunity to analyze what they've learned and to evaluate the approach towards the content, to evaluate and analyze their strengths and their weaknesses. For example, another learner took perhaps longer than another learner. Why? Because they've now identified that I need to read more. So all these concepts and comes into play, and they just work together and make everything unique and so on. And then obviously your treasure is what? The assessment. Whether it's your formal assessment or summative assessment, you can use it in any way. For a formal assessment, they'll really enjoy this because you're actually doing it. I worked with it in terms of, I allowed my learners, I used it once as a summative assessment in the third term. I'll show some pictures on that, on what we did. And the kids actually enjoyed it, because they could work on their own time. They had a due date and so on. I was able to facilitate, and you actually see the results in real time. That's actually what I liked about it. You can see them working on it and so on, based on one of the concepts that I put in there. So on your assessment, at the end of the day, the treasure, It's for them to see what they've achieved. So to finish this actual quest, to know that I made it, I completed it, that's rewarding by itself. The fact that another learner perhaps didn't complete it at the same pace or receive perhaps the same results, I found that the kids just enjoy it so much. They actually just feed off each other's energy. They feed off each other's strengths and so on. How does What are some of the advantages of the web quiz? The
Oh,
advantages
man.
are, yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Never mind. Go on.
Are
I
you
was
sure?
gonna say when you were talking about that now, it just made me think about something.
I can go back.
But I think you're going to touch on that right now when you went to the next page. So it's fine. After this, I'll say something.
Okay. Okay. So all of this, we all know Bloom taxonomy, right? We done that at varsity, or sometime we came across it, or we were in a workshop or so on. Um, so that's basically where we want our kids to be. We want them to remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. That's where we want them. That's what we would like them to achieve. So what does the web quiz do for us? It allows them to evaluate and analyze the information. Remember your keys that you gave them, that we discussed early on, in the time frame that you allocated for them, allow them to learn certain things. And based on that, by answering the next question, or by continuing through the wakelet, or by continuing through the quest, through the actual treasure map, through this treasure hunt or the web quest, allows him to evaluate and see, do I know my work? Do I need to go back? In my instance, I allowed the videos were accessible, so kids went back and they were able to come back and try and answer it. So they went back to look for keywords. They went back, so they watched the videos over and over. They read the content over and over, looking for certain things. So I guided them for what to look for, but at the same time, they actually learned a lot. So they evaluate. So as they're going through this process, this is how they're learning. They're basically evaluating all the time, and they're analyzing, and that's actually a good that's very important, because we're already near the top of the hierarchy of Bloom's taxonomy. So the kids are already evaluating, and they're already analyzing with the content that you provide them based in those concepts. The next section that they also use is basically what I'm going to show now, is the different ways you can set up the web quest. Okay, so the first way is multiple choice. Remember, multiple choice is you is a is kind of a roll of a dice, if you'd like to call it, that, because either way they could get it right, they could get it wrong. And here we basically want to see, what do they understand, do they understand the concepts, and do they actually remember what I've learned. So that's how you can set it up. That's your assessment. So basically, at the end, when they find their treasure, you'll know what they've learned based on the fact of the results, and you'll set it up in terms of whether you want it to be multiple choice questions, or whether you would like it to be constructionism. And that's where you ask them to create something. That's where you ask them to design something and upload it. And in and in the e-learning sphere, this is the highest form of e-learning application and lessons and objectives that we actually want to achieve. We want our kids to be able to put something together themselves. We want them to be able to make something themselves. Imagine you ask them within Wakelet to make another card. I'll show you the cards later on, to make something and to add onto it. And so this allows that creativity to come out. This allows them to explore, and this allows them to use the skills they've obtained by using their own devices at home, by using the PlayStation or the Xbox, and certain features of what they know about. They're now able to take this and incorporate that skills in what's happening. Right. So that's where we want them to be, to create. So you need to ensure that you have that. They need to evaluate and analyze. That's how they're going to learn. But the other options is, what do you want your outcome to be? Either you can to ask them to create something, to put something together, or you can use the multiple choice. Either way, if the content is promising and if the content is exciting, and then either way you'll get promising results that would be fruitful for the learners as well as yourself. Before I continue, Rifqa, do you want to add something before I go to the next slide?
Yes, what you said is very interesting, and also like referring to the Bloom's taxonomy. And if you noticed, the older Bloom's taxonomy, you spoke about hierarchy, and so the older Bloom's taxonomy, where you had to start by remember, and then understand, and then apply, and then analyze, then evaluate, then create. With this pedagogy, you can now turn this whole thing around. You know, you can actually, with your learners, get into create. So give them the content, and the content will be information, obviously, and then it turns into knowledge once they start engaging with the content, because they now need to create a web quest. Say, for instance, they must create their own web quest, but once they created their web quest, they need to evaluate it and analyze it. Do you see where I'm going with this? And
Yeah,
they applied their knowledge to create that web quest. You get what I'm saying? So you don't have to do it in a particular order anymore. Now it's like flipping the classroom, or
mm,
the flip classroom strategy. So it doesn't have to go in that hierarchy that we kind of look at from the bottom to the top. Now we could actually like say, you know what? Let's flip it around. You create, and let's see what comes up. Now you evaluate, so you reflect, you evaluate, you see what is wrong, what is incorrect, what is correct, or you can see what is your strengths and your weaknesses here. Analyze it in that way, and then you apply that knowledge that you have learned after creating, right? And
mm.
that then automatically gets the learners to understand and remember.
No,
That,
definitely.
that's the only thing I wanted to say. So it's very, very interesting what you are saying right now. So the constructionism can go either way, from the bottom to the top, from the bottom to the top, or from the top to the bottom.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Interesting. Yeah, you're making me think now of another way I can use this, teaching them the skills and then them actually having to make their own one. But before I continue, I just want to ask Amy, are there any questions? Do you have any questions?
There are no questions,
I
but
know
I
one.
have a question.
Yes.
So, like as Rivka was talking, and you speaking about starting at constructionism, having the learners create first. Have you actually had your learners use option two, constructionism? Because that is something that I would like to implement in my class or do with my learners. But I'm thinking, are they old enough? And you grade five. So
Okay.
how would you ask that
So
question?
Okay, so at our school, I promote PowerPoint. Okay, so when kids are in the lab, I make sure that when they're done doing a task, for example, maybe they're busy with MCO and they've done a few brain quests, and so they're done with that, and they're happy, and I'm happy with the mark that they achieve. Um, then I encourage them and I tell them, right, go to YouTube and look for PowerPoint, and they have no idea what's PowerPoint. They actually don't. And I met a student, was it last year or the year before, she came to visit us, and she was shocked when she came into the lab, the computer lab, and she said, "Sir, they're doing PowerPoints now." I said, "Yes, I need them to do it now because when they get to high school, then they need to know how to do it." And then she said the first time she ever done it was in grade 10. They were given a task where they needed to do a PowerPoint. So
Hectic.
exactly, yes. So I encourage my kids to do the PowerPoint, and then in the third term for English, when they do the English, our grade sevens do the same.
Yeah.
In English, I want my presentation for English and Afrikaans, right? When they have to write their story and do the project,
Research.
I
Yeah.
want it in a PowerPoint form. So
Okay.
they have to put their whole story together in PowerPoint, and I
You
promise
giving
you they enjoy it.
You're giving me
So
an idea now because we also have our learners use PowerPoints and give us PowerPoints. So, okay, that's a good idea. Okay,
yeah,
so my brain is thinking now. It's working. It's working.
yeah, so then they email it to me and so on. And later on, I'm going to mention this again because that's a tool that you're going to use for collaboration in slides. Okay, just remind me in case hopefully I don't forget. Okay, so structuring a web quiz. Let's just go through. I know why we don't have questions. Maybe we have questions because people are thinking, okay, fine, just get done. We want to see this thing. Don't worry, I
Yes,
know.
I also want to see the thing.
I know, yeah, you want to see this thing. Yeah, don't worry, we'll get there now. I'll show you pictures of it. But okay, I'll work through it as well. Nonetheless, structuring a web quest. Okay, so number one, we spoke about instructions and task setting. That's your time. We also spoke about digital resources. Obviously, you're going to have to use digital resources, online, your YouTube, Google Maps, for example. If you're busy with geography and you want them to find a place, and then draw a map or whatever the case may be. And then we have instructions to analyze, evaluate resources, your final assessment, your feedback from the kids, and your reflection. Okay. So the four-step approach to a web quest. Number one is decide on your learning outcomes. What do you want to achieve? I think that's very important. Most of the time when we get to use online platforms, we get so thrilled, we get so into the creating part and getting everything in order to the fact that you forget actually what you want to achieve. So you don't set it up in a way that's, you don't set it up in a constructive way. There's no flow. There's no flow in it. There's no cohesion in it. So kids, the information is just scattered. And that's why usually when I set up something, I usually leave the creative part of it, beautifying it, making it more interesting after I've actually completed my content that I want to put in. Because the moment I start on looking for pictures, the moment I start on trying to make this thing creative with a theme or something, then I get lost, So I don't do that. I make sure I have all my content ready. I make sure I have everything in order. Then I put it in. And at the end, once it's tested and it works, and then I start playing around with the colors and the theme at the one. So it's very important to decide on your learning outcomes. What do you want them to achieve? Because you're going to be working through it and not selecting carefully. Once you've decided on your learning outcomes, now you'll know exactly what learning materials to use. Okay, so you're either going to find content for them or you are going to create content for them. So that's where it comes in. You need to choose, what am I going to do? How am I going to make it interesting? And that's the type of information you'd want to put in. It's also interesting to know, it's worth mentioning, that YouTube videos, I'm gonna put a YouTube video in the Wakelet. I just have a question to all the participants. If you can give me the most effective time for a video to keep the learner's concentration, what do you think would be the appropriate time to keep them? Would it be 20 minutes to watch a video, 2 minutes to watch a video, 15 minutes? I'm going to pose that question there. Put your answers in the chat, and then later on we'll come back to that. And Amy will give me your answer, and then we'll see how long a video should actually be to be effective and for the learners to take notice of it. So once I've decided on my learning outcomes, what do I want them to achieve? Secondly, what's the learning material I'm going to use? Am I going to find it for them, or am I going to create it for them and give it to them? Compile and structure your quiz in Wakelet. That's what we're going to be doing now shortly. And then test to ensure everything is accessible. When I made my first web quest, certain videos didn't work. Um, some things worked. You could read some of the stuff. But on the phone, it was just so cluttered because I never actually thought of the layout. I didn't choose how I wanted it to look. Some videos wasn't accessible. I never gave rights to certain videos, and then afterwards, to make it more effective, I just started placing all my videos that I've made that I want the kids to see. I just uploaded it up onto YouTube, and I embedded that link into it. So that's some of the things you need to do. And I asked my wife, and I sent her the link, and she went through it, and it was interesting for me because she has no idea what I'm busy with. She doesn't know the content that I'm going to teach, etc. So she needed to go through it and just see what it's about. So whether it's a colleague, whether it's your cousin, whether it's someone that you're really close to, a friend, ask them to go through it with you. Usually, it's not always like that, but usually sometimes, as teachers, we're so busy with teaching, admin, prepping for lessons, that when someone asks you to do another favor for them, it's not that you're trying to be difficult or trying to be funny, but rather your plate is so full. Now you're going to have to work through this whole Wakelet project as well. So sometimes it's good, find that person to do it, no problem. But you can also take someone outside of the education sphere and let them give you their honest opinion and make sure it works. Okay, because when the kids start working on it and it doesn't work, that's when it gets a bit not frustrating, but Sometimes overwhelming. Okay, so let's have a look. You can see my page here. We'll go to Wakelet there. Okay, so everybody's seeing this, right? I'm on Google now.
No, I don't see Google yet.
You still see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
And just so by the way, for the question that you asked, so we have I said 3 to 4 minutes. Rivka said 90 minutes.
What?
Um,
Okay, go on.
It was a slip. I made 90 seconds, man.
90 seconds.
90 seconds is the actual time.
then we have some 5 to 7 minutes and some 2 minutes. And then
So
Rivka
five,
1 minute.
one, someone said 1 minute.
Yeah, Rivka again.
Okay. Um, three, 3 to 5 minutes.
Agreed.
3 to 5 minutes, maybe six.
Yeah, 6 minutes
Okay.
for my kids. That's too
Yeah,
long.
but no, no, no. There's an interesting thing. Once the
How do you
video
know
is,
that?
I had a video.
What?
I had a video that I think it was 12 minutes or 15 minutes, and the kids loved it. They really enjoyed it. And the reason why they really enjoyed it was because the actual video that I played jumped from scene to scene. It went from the one scene, then it explained the next concept with different examples. The music was catching, everything was just exciting. So your best time is about 3 to 5 minutes, 6 minutes, you're pushing it. But once it's exciting, that makes it enjoyable. Okay.
Yeah.
So and therefore, I'd also recommend when you're busy with your Wakelet, use videos that the kids are familiar with, right? Like I edited a section from Zootopia and I played it for them, and they just absolutely loved it. So you're seeing my Google screen now, is that correct?
Yes.
And you
Yes.
see the coral, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you see Nemo swimming there?
No.
Oh.
Okay, good. Then we're on the right one. Okay, fine. Let's go to Wakelet. Okay, let's just say all in one platform and click on that. Here's my collections. Okay, so once you click on Wakelet, they're going to ask you to log in. They're going to ask you to sign up. In my case, I'm already logged in. I'm already signed up. If you look on the left-hand side here, where I'm pointing now, this is my profile settings. Okay, so that's the icon for my Gmail account, which means immediately I'll go in. Okay, and these are some of my collections, just some that I'm using for the presentation today. One of the pictures I had never came up. Just excuse me just for one moment. Just give me one moment. Just go back here.
While you're busy with that, Uthman, so Nicole asked if Wakelet is free.
Wakelet is free. It has. Oh yes. Sorry. Let me just show this. Okay, I'm gonna share now again. My sincerest apologies. Let me just share that again. Because I wasn't done. I was just so interested in getting everybody there that I missed a step. Okay, you can see my screen again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, four-step approach to Webquest. Amy,
Yes, I'm here.
you see that four-step
Yes,
approach, right?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, excellent. Let's go on. Right. Next, I have, so there we go. Conclusion. We have a task setting that goes together, provide various resources, and analyze and evaluate the resources, and then complete assessment. Okay, then we're all one big happy family that can collaborate, and then you have peer assessment. Okay, that's up to you. So here we go. So this is actually what I done for my term 3 geography when I done the weather project. And these are the cards we're going to be talking about. You see here some videos that's embedded here. This one here is a extract from Zootopia that I kind of edited for the kids to enjoy, the weather report. So these are the things that you can start embedding depending on what you want to do. On this one here, I inserted a picture of, this is where I found information. So when we say find, this is where I found some information of weather symbols that they would need. Our climate was important for me. I needed them to look that up and so on. So this is just an example of something that I've done. And so now we're jumping into Wakelet. So, okay, yeah, I just wanted to show that. I just got so excited to show everybody. I skipped that step. My sincerest apologies. Okay, we're going to share it now. Share screen. No. Share collections. Share. Okay, so there we are. Okay, if you're looking on the side to the questionnaire that says start your future ready journey, request a 90-day free trial of Education Pro today. Okay, so we use the free one, which has certain limited aspects. However, it's fine to use because you can make as many as you want. I haven't found any situation where I was restricted or um, I lost something or so on. So you're welcome to use it. So the free version that we're using without purchasing it, it's fine to use. You're going to be able, you will be able to achieve. Obviously, if you feel like you need to get you need to purchase one, and you really love this option, and then you can go ahead. So here's my landing page. I'm here. We have certain items: search, explore, and share with me. But we're gonna jump on the right to the right hand corner, and we're going to go to create collection. So here we go. Okay, so here I am. That's showing me that's just showing me who I am and my number and my email address and so on. This is when if I would like to share this, I'd like to put the design and this three dots here, the crumbs, open collection action menu. And so here I can make a copy of it. I can move it to another collection, or I can delete the entire collection. Okay, so as we scroll down, you'll only see one, what we refer to as cards. It's basically like a card, a stack of things that you're putting together, and this makes up the actual wakelet. So at the bottom here, let's just have a look at the first one here. This is where I'll give it a title. I can add an interesting or awesome description. I can paste a web address there, a link. I can paste a link there, and that will take myself or whoever accesses the Wakelet to that video or to that document, whatever the case may be. At this juncture here, we can add a text. We can add a text here. We can add a text that we want to use, and likewise other information that may be accessible. So at this juncture here, I can add a picture. I can upload an image from my laptop or the PC or the tab, whatever you're doing. You can also design with Canva. This is really interesting where you can integrate with Canva. Um, so what if you have an account with Canva and you click on here, automatically it goes into your account. You can design a few things. If you have something there that you just want to upload, you want people to share, to access, you can do that. And then you can choose a GIF here, an image that moves, and then you can choose from Unsplash as well. Here we have a bookmark. Let me just go to this. Sorry, at the schools you still have, the grade R's up and down and so on. So I was hopeful to be in a class where we wouldn't hear much noise. So my apologies for that. I have my bookmark. So if you look to the top of this, okay, you won't see that now, but you get an extension, a Chrome extension of Wakelet. Once you have a Chrome extension of Wakelet and you go onto a website, you can actually bookmark that address. You can bookmark that website. That will be embedded here, and then when you want to access it, you can do so at any time. These are for PDF upload files. So if you have a PDF you'd like to upload that is accessible for a learner to use. So for example, you have it on your Google Drive, it's in the cloud somewhere, they can access it. That's where you would want to upload the link or the document. On this side here, on the waffle, has an app integration. You can put in a YouTube video. You can access something from your Google Drive, from your OneDrive, as well as Adobe Express. I haven't worked much in this area here, but I've worked from here thus far. Okay, so let's start our title. And today we're going to be busy with metals. Okay, so let's make this natural sciences. And I'm going to add a subheading here. Let's learn about metals. One of the other teaching methods and things that are important also is always to ensure that your kids um, are aware of what you're going to do. That they are aware of what you're going to do. It makes it more interesting. And this here, as you can see for yourself, it actually gets saved. So when you're done with something, when the moment you work on it, it immediately gets saved. So the project that you work on immediately gets saved as you go about. So any changes being made, once the link is sent, they'll be able to access it and they'll see that. Okay, so let's learn about metals. That's interesting for me. Let me just go there again. Okay, excellent. And so now I'm going to go to the design section of this. This is my first page. So now for my cover page, I want to choose something that has to do about what I'm speaking about. So I'm going to go to choose from Unsplash. And here I have a few options. I can choose images. Obviously, I'll search it now and various images there. So let's just type in there metals because that's what we're busy with this term. So here's different metals coming up. Something interesting so the kids can see. I like this one here. Um, yeah, this one. This one here. Okay, I'll go with this one. Shows a bit of creativity. Gives them an idea of what they can do with metals. My options now are I can either use it as a full screen, so it's going to cover the whole card, it's going to cover the whole area, or I can make it off screen. So it will be off and you'll still be able to see my heading there that I'm going to use. Okay, my other two options are I can edit this and change the cover image, or I can delete it and then just ignore the card or use a different one. Now, for my background image, I'm going to go again from choose from Unsplash. And this time I'm going to use metals again, but I'm going to look for something that's kind of connected, but a bit far-fetched from it, that is give a nice background. So they can give me the same thing. I like this look here. So always make sure it's something that the kids can relate to. Always choose a background that's going to make it interesting for them. Choose a background that's going to make them want to know actually what's going on and what this thing is about. And that actually guides them to be creative themselves. So let's look at the media. This is the one that I'm using here, the different cards. You have the compact one. That's where you put all your cards together. It doesn't look, I won't say it doesn't look very neat, it just doesn't look very exciting, so I don't usually use that one. When you look at the grid view is displayed side by side in a grid. This is basically if you would like to compare items, if you have perhaps an arrow moving from one block to another, you want them to see everything and not scroll down to see it. The mood board has, if you want to create a display, or you want your cards, your Wakelet to look more broader, exciting, and integrate in a different one. And then you have your columns here if you want to contrast and show the differences between things. So, okay, so far I'm happy with my design. And as you can see, I have the opportunity to add another one. So here I'm going to go look for add text. And I'm going to say here, right? I'm going to type here, what are metals? What are metals? Don't forget to put a question mark. So I'm happy with that text. I can highlight that. I'm going to make that bold. Okay. I don't have much space. I can center it though. You don't have much options here, but it's fine. It's doable. You can work with it. I'll go with my heading 2. You have different options of your headings that you can use. There's a restricted area here, but you can work with this to achieve your goals. So we go further down. And here we want to add a YouTube video. So here I'm looking for something on metals. I'm going to say metals. What are metals for kids? For kids, what are metals for kids? That's to guide me and make sure it's child friendly. It's something I'm looking for. Glass and metal, metals and non-metals. I love this because that's actually what we use. Metals and non-metals. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay. So there's a video. So in my introduction, I want to provide content for my learners. So in other words, I found content. Like we said, you find the content and then you put it in. So you found the content, the kids can watch it, they can play it. Next, you have an option that's going to ask you now. So what I'm going to do here is this stands alone. Once I put my hand there and I hover it, I click on it and I push it up at the bottom and I add it there. So it should be what are metals, and then you have the video. Okay, what are metals? You have the video. And well, we can add another section. And this section I would like to put here discuss. And this is where this comes in, Amy, when we spoke about the PowerPoint and so on.
Yeah.
Discuss. This is where this comes in. I'm going to put a link. So I'm just going to go here quickly to. All I'm doing now is basically I'm just popping into my slides and I'm just capturing anyone with a link. I'm just capturing anybody with a link here. I'm making them the editor and I'm copying the link and I'm jumping back into, okay, so the guys, you'll be able to do that again if you do some of our other sessions. We'll work through slides and so on. And I'm going to go here and I'm just going to say Control V, paste. And so it's saving that slide there. Saving a slide there for me. If I go up, kids can click on this, should open. Why is it not opening? I just added that link now. Let me just see if I do that. Paste. There we go. Okay, so the heading's a bit off here. I added as habitats. Okay, so the heading of the document I just needed to change. But we'll do that again. So when you jump around there, I'm just changing that. Say your metals. Okay, excellent. So when I go here back to my natural science, if I refresh that, things should come back together. Okay, cancel. Okay, let me just go into this quickly. I want to show you something. We spoke about the PowerPoint. Did my PowerPoint open? Do you see it?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, fine. I'll show you now. Here we go. Metals, and I'll say share. Okay, so what do I have here? You have a slides, a document slides. Okay, so if my kids are in here, then they can see the heading metals. I have a picture there of a magnet. And now, because my kids are familiar with PowerPoint, when they go into slides, they can add their name there, Rivka, and I can ask a question. I can they can add a YouTube video. I can say, for example, oceans or something, and I can ask them to tell me what type of metals you'll find by the oceans, or I can, whatever I want them to
That's
do. I can
habitat.
just say, yeah, that's where the collaboration.
Okay,
Sorry,
so I get you. I get you. I get you.
yeah, that's where your collaboration comes in here. So Amy and on and on. So kids get to decide what they want to do there at that point. Okay,
Okay, so
so
do
that's your
you allow them to put their own name and things on the
yes. So
slide, or
that's
do
up to
you
you.
create the
Yes.
slide already with their names on?
You create a slide, and then they just need to add a new page, a new slide all the time, and add their names
Okay.
in the comments. And what I used was Padlet. It was very enriching. It was very interesting
Yeah.
because the kids absolutely loved it. So
So
I'm
you
gonna
can
go
integrate Padlet also into this web quest.
in
I mean,
anything you can, whatever. If you have a link, you can do that.
that's
If I
awesome.
click on my if I
Good
click on my
idea.
breadcrumbs here, and I go down, sorry, my breadcrumbs shows me
You're not
the options
sharing
that
with
I have.
us.
Sorry.
You're not sharing with us. There's a quick question. The content that we create and the content that we create and feedback to our learners, does that content come with accessibility features? Example, reads the question or instruction out loud for learners who
No.
cannot read.
Okay.
I think
Question.
if you
Does
add it
does
to
Wakelet read the questions?
yeah,
No, it does not read the questions.
but
It does
then
not read the questions.
one way to work around that is maybe if you use Microsoft. Edge, Microsoft
and
Edge,
embed it.
and open the web page, the Wakelet. Then they have an option there that it reads everything on the website, or whatever you click on it can read. So that's one option, one idea. Um, Microsoft Edge.
No, definitely, definitely. That's how you add something, you know. So if you are restricted if you are restricted here, you can add items that will make it more interesting. And that link should take them to there. You know, that link should take them to there. So here we saw, for example, how we added some um how we added I'm going to delete this one because it's just a copy of it. I'm saying yes, I want to delete it. And once I go and I add another section, another card, I can enter the title. Um, I'm just going to say pictures, or I can say, for example, um, non-metals, and then I can start giving them examples of non-metals. Okay, so then I added another selection. I added something, and then in this section I can look for up. No, yeah, just go here again. Let's just say add. Yeah. So here I can look for a picture again, or I can go into here and go into my drive and look for an image and so on. But for now, I'm just going to look for a picture. I'm going to go to Unsplash. I'm just going to type in here non-metals. Non-metals. So let's just see. So, okay. So we want something easy for them. We don't want to make it too difficult. Um, I can't see anything now. Yeah, seems like they all have all metals. Everywhere I see a metal here. Everywhere is just a metal. So I'll just have, for example, like people, and then I'll just have that saved. Okay. And so they can see that picture there of a person, and I can maybe ask them, for example, these are non-metals around here. Do you see any places where there are metals, for example? And then they'll be able to answer that question. Okay, they'll be able to answer that question. So let's just go back to my collections. I'm gonna go to my collections, and I'm gonna open this one up just to have an idea of what I done. So my kids went to there. I gave them instructions about what the whole idea was about, when it was due. They had a video they could watch. I gave a description. They could complete the Padlet activity here. And what I love about this was the moment they went into it, this was already set up for them. Okay. Okay, you're not seeing it. I'll just jump there again. Basically, you can go into the Padlet and they can start working and they can work with one another. What is climate, for example, and pictures. And at the bottom, a weather report. And then I had my weather project, and they needed to do it with um, Google Forms, and that was interesting because I got real-time information. Okay, so if there's no other questions, Amy, I think I've went a bit over time. I hope I answered everything.
I think you have. It's basically only that question about the reading, the for those that cannot read. So basically, just enabling the read aloud features on your web browser, that would be the best bet to make use of that
No,
um,
definitely.
of Wakelet. Yeah.
Okay. So I think if there's nothing else, that would conclude our session. Um,
Uthman, can I ask you, how did you share that now? Did you share it?
Oh, maybe you can share it with us, Uthman, so that we
Hmm.
can
Show how to
share
share
share what?
your
The
your
your
Wakelet.
Wakelet.
image.
Mm.
Oh, no, I just pressed shared. Oh, you mean the actual Wakelet?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yes, I can share that.
Put it
Um,
in the
I
chat.
mean, like
let me check.
show
Yeah.
everyone how you can share this Wakelet. Say, for instance, they want to share it with their learners, or they want to share it on WhatsApp or whatever.
Okay. Um, yes. Okay. Let's just go there again. Let me just go to my share. Okay. So in the top right corner, you say share, and then here I can copy the link. I can give you a join code, and I can add users. So I can just say there, copy the link, and then I can paste the link, and then people will have access to it and be able to watch it and so on. But you need to make sure that you publish it first.
Okay, so you have to publish before sharing.
Yes, yes.
Ah, cool.
Okay.
This sounds very interesting. And then your was your Google form only multiple choice, or did you use long questions and or short answers as well?
Long and short answers.
Okay. Okay. I'm just working on something in my head right now.
Yeah. But don't worry, you'll be able to find it and get the nick of it. And I'm sure everybody will enjoy it. The more you play with it, the more you enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yes, if we don't have any other questions, just everybody's reminded to fill in the registration form.
There's just one more question. The Wakelet can be differentiated as in using more visual aids and audio as opposed to reading. I mean, that's a question.
Yes, no, no, no. That yeah, no, you can. You can add audio. You can add more videos and reading content if you want to. But definitely more audio and so on. Yes, especially from Spotify or things that kids are familiar with.
Yeah, I'm sure you can add whatever you need to add in order to differentiate it, to make it possible.
Yeah.
So Nicole asked if you could possibly show an example. I think um we might just show her where you would add a audio.
Okay, so the audio you'll add in the form of a YouTube video that is an audio. So I'll show that now. Um, sorry.
No, no, show an example.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I'll show now. So let me just go here. Let me just share my screen. Um, just share quickly. Okay, so I'm back on my screen here. You saw the sharing and so on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my collections, and we're going to go here to the metals that we were busy with. Okay. Um, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a section. I'm going to add a section. I'm just going to add something here to it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to YouTube, and I'm going to search and look for um, fairy tales. No, no, no. I'm not going to say Metallica, or rock music for metal rock. I'm not going to put that. So I'm rather going to say fairy tales. Maybe, yeah. Say fairy tales. I'm just going to write it like that, fairy tales, background, music. Okay, and so yeah, I'll find something here. Ah, this one. I like this one. I play this in the class sometimes. If I tell a fairy tale or I tell a story, and then I'll play the video. I'll play the video in the background. So This is something the kids can listen to. Um, can you hear that?
Yep, we can. Very cute. Very cute. That's actually a cute idea to use in the class.
Yeah, and it's nice to play in the background. I like to play these things in the background in a soft while the kids are working. Sometimes they just calm and they get done with their work. Like you're sitting in a restaurant or something. Mm, okay.
Okay, so
But
basically, um, adding more audio, I think just adding more YouTube videos. So that's, I think, the best way in which you could um, bypass the reading, I guess.
yes, more
Yeah.
videos. Yes,
And then just ask your questions based on the video, and then Bob's your uncle. Oh, and I think
yes.
in the Google form, you could also have add the audio, or in a Microsoft form, you can add there's a reading option. So there's lots of ways to work around the reading.
No, definitely yes. It's your creativity that comes into play and what you're going to do. So yeah, so that's definitely you can contact Rivka is going to make sure you sign that the forms and log in. Sign the forms and
I had to laugh, sorry. It is so important
please,
for people to complete that register.
yes,
So you can get
please
the
complete that
recording and
register so you
like
can send
to
it to
show
the
that you
team.
were here. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
with that, Uthman, shukran so much. Really, this was amazing. Amy, also to you, thank you so much. But most importantly, thank you to our participants who engage and who gave up the time. Um, we all know how busy it is being a teacher. It is crazy. You're on autopilot and you still gave up the time to develop yourself, and that must be commended. Just to before I end off, I just want to say that if you want an audio instead of a video, you can download a YouTube video, right? You know how to do that. You put the SS in front of the U, the word U, and then you just click enter, and then you can download the MP4, or you can download it as an MP3, right? Then it becomes an audio. If you do not do that and you only download it as a video, there is called Cloud Converter, another app that you can actually convert from an MP4 to an MP3 to make it an audio only. Say for instance you're dealing with kids that cannot do visual and audio at the same time. Sometimes it's overwhelming, especially if you're working with special needs kids. So whatever works for you in your classroom with your learners that has a capacity, you know what will work for them. And so there's many tools to work around with in order for you to accommodate the learning needs. But with that, if there are no other questions, I just want to, you see all the heart you're getting there with man. Your vrou gaat baie kwaad wees. Anyway, so Uthman and Amy, we really, really appreciate what you have done. And all our participants, our colleagues, thank you so much for coming. And if there are no other questions, I think this is the end of the meeting. And I think I will stop the recording now. I forgot to stop the recording. There we go. I'm stopping the recording. And yeah, just